thank you for joining us, Alexei, and sharing with us a little bit about the economics track here at UCR. Can you take us through the courses that students can expect in the economics track here at UCR?
Sure, my pleasure. Roughly speaking, you can think about economics as being traditionally subdivided into microeconomics and macroeconomics. Well, given these two parts of the track, we basically offer a broad introductory course which has a microeconomics component, a macroeconomics component, and a component that looks at the history of economic thought and deals with some of the big thinkers in economics, such as Marx, Hayek, the Austrian School of Economics. Then we have intermediate course in microeconomics, an intermediate course in macroeconomics, and then an intermediate course that focuses on finance and banking and money and has more of an applied nature. So if anything, this would be the course that has most to do with what sometimes people call business economics, or the economics part that really deals with the more practical and applied side of management and finance and this kind of things. And then we have two advanced courses. One focuses on competition in industry. So think about the competition between Google and Facebook, or think about the market for energy, or specifically for oil, and how the different countries, the different producers of oil, how they compete. How then firms make their decisions about how to price their products, how to advertise their products, and this kind of things. That's called industrial organization. And then there is one course, something that I should have mentioned, I suppose, already, is that generally economics is fairly quantitative, and it has both, and that also has two sides. One is that economics has a lot to do with data analysis and statistics. And the other side is that most of the modeling in economics is done using mathematical tools, and therefore economics is closely related to mathematics. So basically all the theory is done with math, and all the empirical analysis heavily uses statistics and sophisticated statistics. And so the last course that we offer them, the advanced course, is called econometrics, and that has entirely to do with data analysis. And this is focused, and it's different from statistics in the sense that it's focused on the tools and the problems that tend to be studied in economics and tend to happen in the field of economics.
Mm-hmm. So that gives a great introduction to the different courses that are on offer in terms of their content. Now, I can imagine that students are also quite curious to find out what can they expect in their courses. So the way that these modules are being taught, what kind of projects might they get engaged in, what kind of assignments can they expect. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, generally in economics is a fairly well-established discipline, and there is a relatively standard body of knowledge that is considered to belong to a standard bachelor program. And that means that in most of the standard courses there are plenty of textbooks available, and those textbooks would cover the sort of the mainstream the mainstream body of knowledge that any bachelor would be expected to master, especially if you go to study economics further on. And in that light, in terms of content, you can in microeconomics, in macroeconomics, in econometrics, in industrial organization, in banking and finance, in all those courses, you can expect certainly a substantial part of the course to be covering fairly standard theory, doing exercises, and then in terms of assessment, having exams throughout the course, assessing how well you mastered that body of knowledge. But then, of course, most of the courses have also some specific features. Let me not go through all of them, but let me mention a couple. So, for example, in the banking and finance course, even though, again, there is a textbook, there are exercises, there is an exam, throughout the whole course, students participate in a business simulation. It's called a Stanford banking game. And what it involves is that student teams of 3-4 students, throughout the whole semester, they manage a bank, a virtual bank. So everyone takes a responsibility for a certain part of a bank. Say you're the CEO, I'm the risk officer. Then we have someone responsible for loans, for deposits, for all the other parts of what generally constitutes a bank, or the business model of a bank. And then throughout the whole course, on a weekly basis, you need to make decisions. How do you want to price your products? How do you want to advertise? How you want to attract your funding? And the whole goal is to maximize the certain performance metrics. And now, many courses will have research papers, especially the more advanced courses, certainly the industrial organization and econometrics. Well, in econometrics, as I said, it's all about data analysis, so it shouldn't surprise you that there you will be throughout the course involved in working with software, with data, doing the analysis, applying the statistical tools that you learn to various economic problems. To give an example, I don't know, why do countries grow? For example, so one of the exercises we do fairly regularly is we try to identify the main determinants of growth. So some countries have been growing much faster than others, and what are the main determinants that are associated with that pattern. So this is a very data-intensive exercise because there are many potential explanations, and the tools of econometrics allow you to sort out a little bit what are the more likely causes of growth.
Mm-hmm. So students have a lot to learn, theory-based, but also quite some practical examples and getting their feet wet with some of the very practical aspects of economics, business economics specifically, as you mentioned. Now, of course, while it is a fairly established discipline, as you mentioned, this is a liberal arts and science institution, so students obviously are encouraged to make combinations with other disciplines. What are some of the combinations that you see quite often for your students?
Well, economics is a part of social science, and within social science, economics, you can see students taking economics with pretty much all the disciplines. In order not to go through everything, but to give examples, there are students who are interested in development. So how do countries, how do regions, how do individual communities develop? And what I see is those students often combine economics with anthropology. And well, I have a couple of examples of alumni who, after this kind of combination, went to do a master, sometimes in economics, sometimes in something more interdisciplinary, such as economic development, and then went to all kinds of places. So one is currently in Ethiopia, I believe working at an embassy, and then doing some work related to development. The other one is in Uganda, and also so followed a similar path, a similar kind of a master program of economic development, and then going into some of the countries where this kind of research is particularly active. Let's say, what I would like to say is that, of course, given the fact that economics is fairly mathematical and fairly data-driven, the other combination that students pursue a lot, and which makes a lot of sense, is combining economics with disciplines that especially work a lot with data, and by which I mean data visualization, data analysis, and this is statistics, the data science track that we have recently introduced as a part of the engineering department, and generally the disciplines that work on your quantitative background, so which would then, next to statistics and data science, include mathematics, and of course computer science, in light of the fact that software and programming is becoming more and more important in the current age, and economists all do a lot of their work using software and more specifically coding. So programming skills are really really important. So therefore, that kind of combination, mathematics, statistics, data science, computer science, together with economics, it also works very well. And many alumni who graduated with that profile, they go more into the kind of into the direction of what I could generally describe as data science or statistics, and work on their empirical skills, and then go more into, well, very often business, and then join data science teams and in business, and sometimes very often actually by now lead data science teams. Maybe a good example is a graduate from about 5 years ago who is currently at Unilever, and she's leading the data science team over there. Even though at the time when she graduated, we didn't have a data science at UCR, but nevertheless, an economics profile was equipping people perfectly well to, by now, lead teams of data scientists. I guess this would be my sort of couple of examples, although many more are certainly possible.
Right. Well, I think that's given us a pretty good insight into what an economics focused degree at UCR can be for students, what it might be like and where it can lead. So thank you so much for joining us and for sharing some of your insights.